How's it going, YouTube? Bowden the Great bringing you a new player tips guide in the game Lynn's Island. Been playing it a decent amount lately and wanted to kind of scrounge up a video and get this out to help some of you new players out. If you're a vet or played it, a decent amount in the past, then you probably don't need this. But this is more geared to just very bare bones guide for if you've just started playing. But basically, you're going to start out near this raft, and when I first played it, I kind of just instantly just ran into the wilderness and started gathering materials. Didn't really realize that the raft actually has access to your tools and weapons, as well as a bedroll so you can sleep and save in, which is very nice early game, especially when you don't have as much materials. So you can kind of just utilize that, not have to build a bed or anything like that. So definitely when you're starting off, don't just instantly start building a base. You can kind of just live off of the raft for a while, and once it gets dark, you can come back here and sleep, and then, kind of slowly start building up your base that way. Which sort of brings us into my second tip is the inventory system in this game works a little bit differently than in a lot of other games. And that's whenever you craft or buy or find a new tool or weapon, you actually have access to it. You basically more so unlock it than you actually do actually craft it or find it. So the good part about that is if you're, say, in the caves and you find and you're need to move your food into your hotbar and because you forgot to, it's pretty easy because you can just literally just drop that off and come to your tool chest and grab it back and put it in. And you can also do this with the workbench. I'll show you real quick. If you come here all the way to this far side, boom, you have access to all your tools and weapons. So that's it's super. I mean, I haven't really played a game like that where you actually unlock the tool permanently and you don't have to just craft each one, like kind of like how in Minecraft after you use a tool it eventually breaks. So it's kind of a nice, it makes things less grindy, which is definitely nice. This brings us to number 3, talking about blueberries. Blueberries is basically going to be your source of life, especially early game before you can really unlock, get to iron and then unlock the watering can and farm. So blueberries are an absolute necessity, and I would highly recommend that each time you walk past a blueberry bush, just to go ahead and hack it down and collect your blueberries, because next thing you know, I mean, you can see my hunger bar is just kind of depleting, and next thing you know, you're in combat and you're getting injured and you're like, holy shit, why am I not healing? And it's because your hunger is down and you're just taking more damage. So be sure to, I'm trying to find a blueberry bush I can show you what they actually look like. They're pretty noticeable. They're literally a green bush with blueberries. So here's one actually right here. But yeah, super easy. Just hack it down. Boom. Got blueberries. This brings us to my fourth point, is kind of playing on the first, when I mentioned, about kind of staying around the raft area. Even regardless of early game, I highly recommend building a base kind of in this area, maybe a little bit to the north and west, but kind of staying nearby. And this is because you have Bridgewater right here as well, Bridgewater town, and you can kind of just sort of live off of your start base. Certainly, by all means, you can build wherever the hell you want. I just recommend, because once you get into like the more mid and late game, you'll be running into Bridgewater a lot, so it just makes the trek a lot quicker than having to go all the way, if you're like in the northwest part of the island, run all the way across, do what you got to do, and then run all the way back. And plus, it's not that far from the caves either, which is kind of nice. And this kind of segues right into my number 5 point, which is talking about the caves. That's going to be your more grindy aspects of the game, where you're having to go into combat and search for different void essence as well as iron and coal. But you really want to, before you even think about engaging in combat, go ahead and find this Marlin sword. It's very easy to find, super new player helpful, especially in combat, because you don't really have access to a lot of decent weapons until you can actually afford to buy it with coins. But I'll put a link to the video. I actually did a video on how to quickly find the Marlin sword. But basically, just to kind of bare bones, you just go to the northwest part of the island and just swim west, and you'll eventually come across Lonely Island, which then you can get the Marlin. But definitely recommend checking that video out, because that'll basically replace your Bowie knife, and you'll never use a Bowie knife again. So my number 6 is kind of talking about farming, but basically you want to avoid, because you know, you've got these farms you can build, and you kind of want to avoid really even wasting time building that or the well, because you need to have a watering can, which to build the watering can, here, I'll show you right here. To build the watering can, you've got to have iron, which if you don't have iron, which you get from the cave, so if you don't have iron, then you cannot build this, and it's not really worth building a farm until you can actually get that iron. So I would definitely prioritize, once you kind of get settled in a decent little base, head on into the cave. Try and I wouldn't say avoid combat, but you don't want to go in there, guns ablazing and die, and then it's just kind of a whole headache. So I would definitely recommend just trying to go in there, get 5 iron, come back, water, plant a bunch of blueberries, water them, which you use with the well. So you basically just have to kind of grab that and then water your farm. Pretty easy. And this brings us into my actually last final point. And I kind of briefly touched on this earlier. Excuse me. But when you're building your base, between kind of the raft and the Bridgewater, you definitely will be, and I mentioned about going into town and selling different goods and whatnot, but you definitely want to utilize the town, because gold, you can buy new weapons, shields, you can buy new backpacks, which adds hotbar space, as well as you can carry more inventory. So instead of 150, you can carry 250 of each. But you get that by basically having access to Bridgewater, and then just farming a lot and then selling it, because once you kind of get going, you'll have a lot more. Once you get a bunch of farms going, then you get like the auto water, the watering tower, which auto waters your farm. Your farms will start kind of just rolling, and then once your farms start rolling, you can just go into town, sell your crops, and then kind of get more coins in that way. So I definitely recommend once you have enough gold, going to visit the tailor, because he's the one who sells you the new backpack upgrades, which is absolutely paramount for kind of just the survival, the later game aspects of it. But yeah, that's kind of my just quick off the cuff couple of new player tips to be thinking about. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below, and I'll be doing a lot more of these kind of tutorial videos and gameplay videos, so don't forget to like and subscribe to support my channel. All right, YouTube, peace out.